decided to do something a little different. I've been meaning to do this for months, but I never knew when the right time to start was. But anyway, we're going to periodically look at certain game manufacturing companies and see how they've fared on the PS2. Today we're going to start with Koei. Welcome to PS2 Mini Games.
PS2 Mini Games.
Hello guys, welcome to PS2 Mini Games. A bit different this week. I've been wanting to do this like little mini sub-series for a long time. Just never ever did it. Today, time is nigh as we explore the many game manufacturing companies that produce many games for the PS2. Many. Terrible vernacular. So the question is, why are we starting with Koei? When you speak to a lot of like old school gaming collectors and fans, there's usually two feelings about the company Koei. Either they were underestimated, or all they made was Musu hack and slash games. Which I understand because there were a lot and still are a lot of Muso hack and slash games. We'll get to that. But on a personal level, even though they found a lot of success with those Musu hack and slash games, I think the other genres and other games they made were far better games and should be given a little more spotlight, if you will. I mean, some of the RPGs you know, but some of the RPGs no one knows anything about, and quite frankly, they're actually very good games. Anyway, before we get to this long dissertation on Koei, let's go through a few comments from the last episode. The last episode being the forgotten episode of Leeds CEX. I legit forgot that episode. That's why I came like a month after I actually did it. I just went over my head. Anyway, couple of comments. We're going to go with my good friend Dan the Games Man, for the obvious question. And basically, I'm not going for word. He goes, why don't you use scissors to cut open the box? See, Dan, that'll be too easy. Sometimes you forget to bring the scissors with you, and you don't want to stop mid-recording. It's like, screw it, we're gonna bear this. Good lord. Yeah, I've forgotten, Dan. The other comment that I remember, and I do remember most of your comments, but the one that comes off the top of my head, from I believe his name was McClary. I'm going to put him underneath here, so you're not going to, you know who you are. But he he compared my humour to the Peep Show, like David Mitchell. First of all, loves the Peep Show, very amazing comedy in Channel 4. Secondly, any comparison, good lord, remix. Any time I can be compared to David Mitchell is a good time. I like David Mitchell. Obviously, I think he married Victoria Cohen. Yeah, Victoria is an intelligent woman, and she knows it. Yeah, David Mitchell's winning. Anyway, thank you for those comments, guys. And for those who have commented literally every episode in the last 2 years, looking at you, Mr. Murray, and others, King of Old School. If I don't remember your name, forgive me, I can't remember off the top of my head. I appreciate you all. I really do. Anyway, let's start getting into this meat potatoes that is Koei. Brief backstory in Koei. Obviously, Japanese game manufacturer. Started really making computer games in the 80s and 90s, mainly for PCs and computers though. Like the Amiga. God, I love the Amiga. And a lot of different like computer. This is all Japan, by the way. Mostly Japanese owned games. A lot of games made in Japan. But the first game they actually released in Europe was in 1989 on the PC. Bandit Kings of Ancient China. I know what you're thinking. Wow, what the fuck is that? Well, it must have been really impressive because it's the first time they released a game in Europe. By the way, these are all games that only got released in Europe. Obviously, Koei made a lot more games, and there's certain games they released in North America we didn't get. I'll mention later. But mainly, these are all the games that we got in PAL Europe. So we'll go through one by one. Also, I own the vast majority of these games. I don't own them all. When we get to a certain section, I'll just put a picture of what it is I'm missing and how hard it is to find it. Ironically, the first console game they released in Europe was actually Dynasty Warriors on the PlayStation. And for those who actually play that game, poor you. The first Dynasty Warriors was not what it became. The first Dynasty Warriors was actually just a combat fighter, a bit like Street Fighter. It wasn't brilliant. It was terrible. And they realised that, and when they came to their next game, which came on the PS2, they changed the formula, and that formula has stuck to modern day. Anyway, the first game released on the PS2 by Koei was released on the 15th of December 2000. And unbelievably, the first game was Kessen. For those who don't know Kessen is like a strategy game. I believe the first one was based in the Shinjuku Jikai period of Japan, the 16th century. By the way, I'm going to not pronounce a lot of this stuff correctly. Forgive me, Japanese people. Forgive me. And forgive me even more for bowing. It's getting worse, Adam. This is an okay game. It's not brilliant, but it was okay. I will say one thing. On the back, they do boast the benchmark for the PS2s in both graphics and presentation. Now, in 2000, that might have been correct, but modern day, these graphics have not aged well. They've aged like milk, and that's just an opinion, but put it this way, this is not a game I would look to replay again. It's one of those games where it's like, it was alright, but, you know. And for those who've got fond memories of this, I apologise. Also, the fact that it only costs like $150 at CX should tell you, it hasn't aged well. After that game release, there was no game released in 2001 in Europe. So obviously, the masterminds of Koei were thinking big time. They were thinking, what's next? Gentlemen, we need to release a game that's going to get everyone losing their minds. What shall we go for? Horse racing. Nani? The kids love horses. Everyone loves horses. Horse racing. Yukimura, I'm sorry, horse racing. And henceforth they came back on the 8th of March 2002 with G1 Jockey. And you know what? It's not the worst game I've ever played. But they've played far better. Remember, G1 puts you in the saddle. Exciting 2-player head-to-head action, okay? Over 2,000 unique horses that you can ride. Opposed to all those race horses you can't ride. I would love to know why they went for horse racing as their second game into the PS2 era. But they must have had a game plan. And this must have done quite well, because this got 2 more sequels for the PS2. But you'll see in a second, it's kind of weird. It's kind of weird. Only 1 week later, the 15th of March, did they release Kessen 2. Now, this one is set during the Three Kingdoms period of ancient China. And for me personally, this is the best of the Kessen series. And to this day, it's alright again. Nothing special. By the way, the original person paid $12.50. We didn't pay that. This came in a bundle. We got this for like tuppence. Supposedly more dynamic battles, more dynamic action, 3 times the number of stages, new weapons, and 500 soldiers on screen at the same time. To be fair, from the original, they did upgrade it quite strongly, and yeah, good job, Koei, good job. Obviously, they would get far, far better than this, but for the time, they were making progress. Now, I know a lot of you are thinking, you've missed a game, sir. You've missed Dynasty Warriors 2, which technically I have. But I wanted to group all the Dynasty Warriors game in like one go, because quite frankly, out of all the series that got the massive boost, this one probably made the most money for Koei on the PS2. It must have done quite well, because the Dynasty Warriors franchise would release a shed load of games on the PS2. We'll get them in one go later on. But only a week after Kessen 2 came Dynasty Warriors 3, which once again got quite a big upgrade since the Dynasty Warriors 2. The voice acting got a little better, the graphics got a little better, and it would take the next game to really start hit the ground running, but this one was alright for the time. Apparently we paid £3 for it at CX at some point, so that was alright, but the Dynasty Warriors 2 and 3 were alright, but Dynasty Warriors 4 and 5 is where they would start hitting the ground running, and would be probably... a lot of people say Dynasty Warriors 4 is the best one. I think 5 is the best one. But I've always had an argument with people about that, so we'll get to them later. But just remember, at this point, like every 1 or 2 years, they will release a Dynasty Warriors game. And Extreme Legends, which is basically a more completed version of that game. And some would get Empire's game, which is Empire, so Dynasty Warriors Empires, which is more as a strategic version of Dynasty Warriors. Anyway, they must have made some money because they went ham on this. Anyway, they would give it a rest. They wouldn't release another game for 6 months. And when they came back on September 17th, they would bring Dynasty Tactics along with them. How can we get more money out of our Dynasty Warriors franchise? Let's just take the game, make it a lot more tactical, and release it, lads. You've done it again, Yukimura. By the way, Yukimura is a fictitious person, but it's one of the only Japanese names I can probably say correctly. So we're going with Yukimura. The makers of Dynasty Warriors present a revolutionary look at tactical simulation. Okay, once again, they were alright. They were alright. But they weren't setting the ground on fire for me personally. But people must have loved the Three Kingdoms period in the mid-2000s because the amount of games released for it was a tad strong. It is a fantastic story though. A lot of it is fictitious. There are some true-to-life real things that actually apparently happened. But remember, it was the late 2nd century, early 3rd century. It would be very hard to keep very detailed stories of those times, you understand what I mean? When you think about it, it's kind of hilarious. Like 2,000 years after the Roman Empire, we actually know quite a bit about the Roman Empire. The Romans were so important to humanity. Now it comes to the first game I haven't actually played yet, but we'll get to. Released on 24th of November 2002, Mystic Heroes. Now, this looks like an RPG. This feels like an RPG. The background and the words kind of scream RPG for me, but I can't honestly 100% confirm it's an RPG, so if someone could tell me that'd be great. But apparently in a world thought to have existed only in legend, 4 brave mystics rise against the shadow of darkness that has engulfed the land. Apparently you can play 2 planets too, so that is some digging, but I will get to this sometime. But the artwork looks pretty good. Probably the first more anime Japanese feel Koei game was made. Trust me, we'll get a lot more coming through, but I've never played this game before. I've played the rest of them, so if someone could give me opinions on Mystic Heroes, that'd be great. But that came in 2002, so Now, for some reason I couldn't find a date, a precise date for this game, but this came out in 2002, so I'm going to assume near Christmas time. The very impressive Get Your Little Man! First of all, love the artwork. Second of all, this is a rhythm-based game, so another new genre for Koei in the PS2 era. And I have tried this, and this actually plays well. So, I don't know what other people's opinion of this game, but I enjoy it. And I would recommend this to most people if you like that kind of rhythm, kind of based gameplay. And I don't know why I'm dancing like a 50s man. Oh, good lord. I can't dance. But I would recommend Get Your Man to anyone. And I love saying it. So we're now in 2003. The PS2's been around for a good 2 to 3 years now. It's people have got it. It's in a lot of homes. It's destroying the Xbox and the GameCube. It's a winning. So the first game they released in March again, you might have noticed they released a lot of games in March. 14th would be Dynasty Warriors 3 Extreme Legends. So basically a complete version of Extreme Legends of Dynasty Warriors 3. I've got the games over there. I'm not going to get it out because it's just the same game with just a little bit of added content. But at this point, they must have been doing quite well in it because they just keep releasing extra versions of it and making the monies. The next game release would not be before PS2, it'll be for Xbox, would be Crimson Sea. Why do I mention that? Because for some reason, they decided to release Crimson Sea for Xbox, but the sequel, which we will get to later on, only got released for PS2. What? As we get along later, but 3 months later, so only 3 months after Dynasty Warriors 3 Extreme Legends get released, comes Dynasty Warriors 4. Bear with me a second. A lot of people would say this is the best Dynasty Warriors game on the PS2, and I would agree with you for most things, but for me personally, Dynasty Warriors 5 just feels better. More characters, a little more streamlined. I mean, the voice acting at this point has gotten quite good, but for me, it's Dynasty Warriors 5. But this is also a very, very good game, and any hardcore PS2 fans have to play it at least once to get the feel of Musou Warriors combat play game style. What the fuck did I say? To get the feel of Musou Warriors combat play style. Dear God. Dynasty Warriors 4 must have done very well because they got a port to the Xbox 5 months later. For the whole life of Dynasty Warriors, they would favour PlayStation over Xbox It's always the way. So it must have done rather well. And I think it was in the million sellers plus. So good stuff, Koei. Anyway, we will wait a few more months for the next game. Yukimura, you've been successful. We've done horse racing. We've done Three Kingdoms. What's next? Gunships. Where'd you come up with this shit, Yukimura? I'm telling you, gunships. Hence came, in late 2003, Naval Ops Warship Gunner. Out of complete left field. This game, which I have played, I've never been much of the way of like, the guns like Warship Gunners games, so this is not my cup of tea. But I've been told it's actually a decent game. I've been told these things. Release your vision of the state-of-the-art war machine. Build a ship. Sail into the hearts of enemy waters. And put it to the test. You won't just prove your ship in battle. You'll prove your ship yourself too. Your ship? Good lord. You will prove yourself too. God, my vernacular today has been awful. Obviously, real life will tell you the Japanese are not fantastic at building gunships. World War II will tell you that. I forgot what the large gun... They built a massive ship and it got sunk in World War II. Miyata? I'm going to have to Google at some point, but it was one of the last nails in the coffin of Japan in World War II. That and the hydrogen bombs. Jesus Christ. Human's got a lot to answer for, really. So, in late November, the last game in 2003 released was Dynasty Tactics 2. The last Dynasty Tactics game released. I'm assuming that we didn't do the sales of Dynasty Warriors. And in the last 2 years, they've released like 7 Dynasty Warriors / Dynasty games, saturating the market a bit too strongly. So, and I've never actually played this game. I played the first one, so this probably could be really good. But after the first one, I was like, I can give it a pass on that one. Yeah. On a commercial break. I need to compose myself because we've got a long way to go, guys. See you later.
夢は世界をかける競馬ゲームの大本命ウィニングポスト6無双3猛将伝の世界スペシャルムービー付き
And we are back. So we've only got like 4 years left. 2004 to 2008. 1, 2... That's 5 years. Jesus Christ. Anyway, because I believe in 2009 is when Koei and Tecmo merged to make the imaginative name of Koei Tecmo. But Koei were doing rather well on the PS2 and other consoles, but mainly on the PS2. In Europe, that is. Because there weren't that many games released on the Xbox and GameCube, but there was tons on the PS2. Anyway, Dynasty Warriors 4 Stream Legends came out in 2004 early. Once again, that was the SIP for February. Once again, it's just basically a better version of the original game. We're not going to go into it. Must have done like gangbuster in sales. But the next game, once again, kind of followed up on the warfare game of Naval Ops. The 26th of March 2004, they released PTO4, the Pacific Theatre of Operations. Another warship game. So you've done one, let's do another one, shall we? I bought this about 6 months ago. Have not played this yet, so I can't give an opinion. But I know it's reasonably expensive to be like £10, probably more now. Just more naval ship to combat. So they know what they're doing at this point. They've made a game, it's the second game, they know what they're doing. I don't know if there's another one, because I don't remember another one for PS2, but we shall find out in the list later. On the side note, this is, like, I usually, like, put some, like, comedy stuff in the episodes, but this one's more, like, we've done some research on this, so this is, like, more serious than usual. This won't be often. Well, I hope it's not often, because sometimes comedy's all I've got. Jesus. And the 26th of March 2004 would bring us Romance of the Three Kingdoms 8. Now, this actually kind of confuses me, because by the fact it says 8 tells you there were 7 sequels, or prequels even. Prequels, I don't... This was the only Romance of the Three Kingdoms game we got on the PS2. And I don't know if we got any more later on other consoles, but I am curious why this one was destined enough and good enough to be worthy of Europe. Once again, tactical stuff, Three Kingdoms. Basically, Koei did everything they could to get as much money out of the Three Kingdoms story. And to that I say, good job, sir. Good job, guys. Yukimura does it again. I don't know why I find it so much funny. Basically, it's just strategy. It's like a game. It was a game you would find on the PC, and I'm sure it was released on the PC. But the PS2 was so popular at that point. Let's put it on the PS2. Let's make up more of the money. And I don't know why the Japanese just tell Italian. Anyway, that's another one. So the next game intrigues me because I haven't played it yet. I will get to it. There's so many RPGs / technical games I've got to get to. Next game released on the 28th of May 2004. Disgaea, Hour of Darkness. Now, this is either an RPG or a tactical RPG. There's so many different forms of RPG, something funny. But it looks very Japanese animated oriented, and I'm sure it plays rather well. And it must have done quite good, because it got a sequel later on the PS2, which we will get to. But from how can I put this? You will see a lot of RPGs turning up on the PS2 from Koei in the next 2 to 3 years. There's one franchise I'm currently playing right now, and actually has impressed me. And we'll get to that in a little while, but I will play this soon, and I will enjoy this hopefully soon. So the next game is the first game that I don't think I own, and that is Naval Ops Commander, because we've seen the first other Naval Ops, unless they're the same game, but I don't think they are. So Naval Ops Commander, if it's a different game, I'll splice the image in the corner here. If it's the same game, you won't see anything, but that's the first game on this list I don't own, and we've gone through like 10 games plus so far, so there will be the odd game I don't own, so I can't give an honest opinion on it. But once again, it sounds like a gunship game. So Koei, once again, just doing what they know what to do. Make the monies. So after that came Dynasty Warriors 4 Empires. So that is literally 6 months after the Extreme Legends. So they basically dragged out Dynasty Warriors 4 as long as they could, because it was the most successful game they've had. Makes sense. But the next game we mentioned earlier, on the 3rd of September, we were given Crimson Sea 2. Now, if you remember earlier, I said that the first one only released on Xbox, as I understand it. Well, if it did release on PS2, I haven't found it yet, let's put it that way. So there are RPG story elements to this, but it's not an actual RPG. This feels like, and from the back of it, because I've not played this yet, I'll rather play the first one on like an emulator than play this to see if it actually makes any sense. But this feels like maybe like a hack slash like sword game. So if anyone could like enlighten me on this, because my curiosity is piqued. But it's part of the collection, so it's weird how you release the first game on one console and the second game on an entirely different console. I'm going by a list I found online, by the way. This list, hopefully, to be fair, this is the most detailed list I've seen of Koei games for the PS2, so there might be some mistakes, but I think it's correct. But there's going to be someone goes, actually, I think I find that is a big mistake. You don't know what you're talking about. There's too many games. It's like, sometimes I do make mistakes. I'm not perfect. Hopefully I never will be perfect. Because though people who think they're perfect, they're full of shit. Mr. Yukimura, we need another shut up bitch, just do Dynasty Warriors but with Japan. But with Japan? Mr. Yukimura, that doesn't make any sense. Shut the fuck up and just do it! Okay. And hence, on the 24th of September, came Samurai Warriors, which is basically the Japanese version of Dynasty Warriors. Once again, set in the, forgive my pronounce of these words, Sengoku Judai period of Japan, 15th, 16th century. This is actually, how can I put this? In more modern times, I actually find the Samurai Warriors franchise more fun to play than the Dynasty Warriors franchise. I know, sacrilegious. But at this point, it's like we need to try and expand the Warriors franchise, and such came Samurai Warriors, which is still going strong to this day. Yukimura's a genius. Oh, by the way, obviously in real life, one of the main people of this period was called Yukimura Sanada. So, yeah. 2005. Glorious time for Koei. On the 4th of February, their first game they released was Phantom Brave, a tactical RPG. Grid formation RPG. You understand what I mean? Once again, have not played this. This is on the list of RPG tacticals that I need to play. And people say, I thought you played everything PS2 mini games. Yeah. Do you know how many RPGs there are on the PS2? Fucking shitload. And bear in mind that the average RPG takes many upon many hours to complete. They got to go in the pile. Plus, if you play back-to-back RPGs, your mind just dies. I mean, the one I'm playing right now, I'm like 15 hours into. I'm near the end, I think. And I'm enjoying that, but I couldn't play an RPG after that. I really couldn't. I would lose my fucking mind. But I've been told mixed reviews about this game. If someone could have liked me on Phantom Brave, that'd be great. But I could have done that well because I don't remember a sequel to Phantom Brave. Later that month, they would release Samurai Warriors Extreme Legends to prolong it between the new one. Once again, just a more better version of the original Samurai Warriors. Terrible vernacular once again. Oh, I'm struggling now. But they would also release another tactical RPG on the 1st of April. April Fool's Day. And this one actually would go on to be quite an expensive game to find for me personally. La Priscille Tactics. I think this is actually a CX rarity apparently. Well, for the price it is. Once again, not played it. But from the mountainous of pink hair and enemy looks, this probably will go on the pile very soon. This is a very much a tactical battle system RPG. Apparently it offers more than 120 hours of gameplay. Fuck. For those of you who do basic mathematics, that's 5 fucking days. 5 straight days of tactical gameplay. Not anytime soon. There's so many different RPG franchises on the PS2, which is a good thing. But at the same time, you have to pick one, like I'm doing right now, and you have to go through the games and then move on to something else. We will be very shortly getting to the one I'm playing right now because it's coming up on the list very soon. But I'm sure La Priscille Tactics is a good game. Once again, if someone could freshen me up on that, that'd be good. Out of nowhere, on the 13th of May, we get Kessen 3. It's been like 3 years since the last Kessen game, and we are once again back in the Sengoku Judai period of Japan. But as you can see, the graphics have massively been updated since, and this is probably the one I've not played very much of, and I really should give it a fair go. But Koei really was digging that well of history knowledge on Japanese and Chinese warfare. I can't really give a strong opinion on that game. It was good or bad because I haven't played much of it. But I would probably say it's probably going to be good. And if I play the full game, probably the best of the Kessen franchise. Because that's the last Kessen game. No more Kessen ever released. Which may have been a good thing. 24th of June. I think that's the first June game released for the PS2 for Koei. Strange. Dynasty Warriors 5. Once again, for me personally, the best Dynasty Warriors game on PS2. Fight me, motherfuckers. Bit strong. Yeah, pretty much. I have played multiple hours of this in the past. Multiple hours. Okay, so between the graphics, the story, and the voice acting, it's actually quite good. And I do occasionally go back to it. The Extreme Legends version is by far the best version. That will be released a little later on, probably in 6 months' time. But yes, highly recommended from me on a personal level. Now comes the second game that we do not own, and actually is a very hard game to find. On the 9th of September 2005, Colosseum Road to Freedom was released. Now, I believe it's a CX rarity, but it's never in stock. And one of my Discord friends just got this game, which I say to him, good job. I'm so very proud. No, seriously, good job finding that. It's one of the hardest games to find. Not one of the games I really want to find anytime soon, but it's shockingly hard. Once again, never played it, so I can't give an opinion on that one. So, anyone can enlighten me? That'd be good. Mr. Yokimura, what? Just shut up and release more strategic RPGs, please. Stop bothering me. I am God of Koei. I think Yokimura is starting to get a bit of a complex issue. On the 20th of October, we got Makai Kingdom, another strategic RPG. I have not played this once again, but I've heard very good things. Apparently the most user-friendly, concise and entertaining strategy RPG in years. I will judge that in the future. But I have heard good things about this. Do love the anime. It kind of done well because it was 3 for 2 at one point apparently. Gotta love the old game sticker though. Really have. See, the problem with this is, as I mentioned earlier, all these strategy RPGs, and once again, so many of them, so I can't really give a definitive, like, for me it's good or bad. But I don't want to stand there and lie and say, yeah, I've played it, I've totally played that, because I haven't. That was the last game released in 2005, by the way. So we're now at the mid to late section of PS2 lifespan, because past 2008 was like the time when the PS3 was pretty much out, and no one was really looking to publish on the PS2. But ironically, in the next 2 to 3 years would become some of Koei's best games on the PS2. And some of them just criminally forgotten about. So on the 10th of February 2006 came Dynasty Warriors Extreme Legends 5. Fantastic game. But it's the next game on the 17th of March, which is currently in my PS2, that I'm currently playing, that is highly underrated. And I was posting an image here, and I can't pronounce this very well, so give me... Oh, okay, if someone can do this. Aterius Auris. Aterius Auris. Eternal Mana. Aterius Auris Eternal Mana. Quite frankly, one of the easiest to understand RPGs I've played in some time. Very Japanese anime looking, and I think it's only like 18 to 20 hours of gameplay for story. It's more side missions, but I would call it a very kid-friendly Japanese RPG. How can I put this? Between the gameplay, the synthesis, which is a very important part of the game, is quite easy to understand, and I want to make this perfectly clear. Anything new, the tutorial explains it very concisely and easily, to where a moron could understand it. I'm currently playing through it near the end of that game, but I've enjoyed it immensely. And after that game, I'll give it a little while, but I will get to the second one, which we own. And hopefully I will at some point buy the third one, which obviously we don't own. But at the moment, I can't recommend Aterius Auris highly enough. If you're an RPG fan but don't like the hardcore, like hard RPGs, by that I mean the one that's like multiple hours of gameplay, if you like a very linear RPG, Aterius Auris is a good choice and highly recommended for people, for casual RPGs. Let's go with that one. For those who have said you've missed the G1 jockey games, I have purposely skipped them because they're pretty much the same game with different graphics. G1 3, G1 4 jockey. The last one came out in like 2006, G1 4. What I don't understand, there is no G1 2 jockey. No, seriously, there's like just G1, G1 3, G1 4, but no 2. If someone could explain that to me, I'd be greatly appreciated. But they made 3 solid games out of horse racing, and they must have done quite well, so I promote that. We do own those games, but compared to a lot of the games, they're very, like, simple-minded. And by that, that's not a bad thing, by the way. But there's so much more detail from Koei games coming up. And this video already is hitting close to 50 minutes. Fucking hell. What's a tad concerning is the next game on the list is Win Back 2 Project Poseidon. I am almost certain I own this, and I have bought it. But it's not on the racking. That's not good. Unless I don't own it. I have to check the list later on, but mistakes can happen. But the best way for me to know what I own and don't know is to, like, organise it. And that's not there, so I have to look for that one, because if not, I'll just buy it again. It's not a massive, like, it's not a massively expensive game, but at the same time, it's annoying. Once again, and I mentioned in the past, luckily no one's going to do this to me, but if I had someone else living here, like, who would just go in my room, if you've got a significant other, and you really want to fuck with their game collection, just go in their room, pick a very random game, remove the manual or disc from it, put the game back where it belongs. They will not find it anytime soon, and they will never understand where the fuck it's gone. Domestic terrorism. I do not recommend that, but it does scare the piss out of me. On the 22nd of 9th September 2006 came Samurai Warriors 2. By far the best of the 2 Samurai Warriors games on the PS2. Easily one of the best Samurai games released. And I believe one of the last one of the last Samurai Warrior games to be released with English dub. I think the third one on the Wii, which is a Wii exclusive, weird choice, was the last dubbed Samurai Warriors game. After that, they just used the Japanese voice acting, which I've got no problem with. Later on in the years, strange enough, when they got merged with Koei Tecmo, they decided to get a bit cheap and didn't go for dubs on a lot of games. I have no problem with that. It's still played well. Sometimes the Japanese voice acting is more enthusiastic than the English soundtrack dubbing, if you will. You can tell I'm getting tired now. I'm just mentally breaking down. But I play this occasionally. One of my favourite games on the PS2. I'm not even joking. And I would recommend it once again. A mere 6 months after they released Ateria Iris came Ateria Iris 2, the Azoth of Destiny. So a 6-month span between the first and second game. That is hard work. So either one or two things happened. Either the first game made a lot of money and they thought, let's get a sequel straight away. Or the second option, which is probably the more obvious choice, this game was very easy to make. Let's just change a few things, keep the graphics the same, and let's just keep making that monies. And I present to you the monies. Also, this is the cheapest of the three Ateria Iris games on the PS2. So, probably tells me it's not as good. Interesting, this one came with a bonus soundtrack, by the way, which obviously is a part of it, because not clicked well, but from what I understand, there is a lot of Ateria's RPGs in the last 15 years, all Japanese very looking. This is probably one of the pinnacles of Japanese RPGs. And I'm hoping when I get to it, that it will be just as simple to understand. Also, what I've noticed from playing a lot of Koei games is the English dub actors. They're all the same actors because you hear the same voices in different games. Nothing wrong with that, but it's like every time I play one, it's like, oh, it's that actor. We're starting to get a bit dark in here. It's because I think outside it's about to piss down from great height. But we're nearly there, guys. We've only got another 2 years to go. Now, obviously, the next 2 years, things would get calmed down with the PS2 because the Wii's now out, the PS3 is coming, and things are starting to get a little more less enthusiastic with the PS2. Obviously, Samurai Warriors 2 Empires came out, and Extreme Legends obviously came out. Good games, would recommend them. Samurai Warriors 2 Extreme Legends must not have done very well in Europe because the price for that at CX is like £40 plus. It's not a common game. Luckily, we have that. It's a very good game, by the way. I would recommend it. The next game on the list I do not own, and you understand why. Shin Megami Tensei Devil Summoner. Now, if I remember, this is a very expensive rare game. I think we're talking 3 figures plus. We have finally hit Shin Megami Tensei games. In modern times, Shin Megami Tensei has quite the following. They are phenomenally good games, have many hours of gameplay to use, RPGs. They are probably Koei's most known franchise that isn't Dynasty Warriors. And would go on to do gangbuster sales for like Persona 5 and onwards, I believe. But we don't own that game. And the next game we don't own, which I mentioned earlier, Ateria Iris 3. Once again, that's only like 4 months. So they released all 3 Ateria Iris games in the span of 15 months. That tells me they basically just used the same like graphics, and just made 3 different games. Good stuff, Koei. I'm not gonna knock that. The sales couldn't have been that good though, because it's one of the RPGs people have kind of forgotten about. But Ateria Iris 3, Grand Phantasm. Never played it. I hope to get it one day. I will play it. Simple as that. On the 21st of September 2007 came Warriors Orochi. Let's just take Dynasty Warriors characters. Let's just take Samurai Warriors characters. Let's just put them all in the same game. And make the same game, but against evil forces of Orochi. And many fictitious characters of Japanese lore. Warriors Orochi just plays exactly the same as Dynasty Warriors and Samurai Warriors. It's actually quite a good game. It's actually quite impressive they managed to get 77 characters in one game. On a PS2 no less. I enjoyed the hell out of those 2 games. They're very popcorn games. to get the full play out of it, you have to play certain stages like multiple times, which can get boring. But if you know what you're doing, which I have in the past, you can get fun out of it, and I would recommend them for the hardcore Dynasty Warriors fans. What's that, another RPG from Koei? You don't say. Enter the real-time strategy RPG of Grim Memora. Or Grim... Good lord. Grim Grimoire. We'll go with Grim Grimoire. Released in the 21st of September 2007, only a week after Warriors Orochi. This is a shockingly hard game to find again, and it's a very expensive game. You might notice now, we're now into the expensive late PS2 era, and nearly every Koei game is going to be fucking hard to find, and fucking expensive. Oh, good lord. We ain't even got the Persona 3 yet. I've not played this yet. Once again, it's on the RPG pile. It looks intriguing. Looks very Halloween colours vibe. But once again, very Japanese oriented again. Koei clearly found their stride and what they liked by 2005, and it's like, fuck it, we're going to make as many RPGs as possible. And a lot of these franchises never saw the light of day again after the PS2. Very much throw a dart on the board and see what sticks. And we have now hit the 1 hour. I think we hit like an hour in this video. This is actually will be the longest video in the channel's history. And I bet you no one fucking watches this. Now we've hit 2008, comes of course on the 29th of February, Persona 3. Some regard this as the best Persona game, Shin Megami Tensei, what you want to call it, ever made. It is phenomenal. The hours of gameplay are also phenomenal. Supposedly so many hours plus, but you probably get a lot more of that if you know what you're doing. The artwork is phenomenal. The voice acting is just as good as any Koei game. And I would say it's the best Koei game on the PS2 that I've played, because I have not touched the Fez version yet, which I bought last week. And when I get to that game, I'm almost certain it will become my favourite Koei game. But that'll be for future endeavours. 2008. The reason this is so expensive is because it came late in the PS2 lifespan. Probably did not sell as many copies as it fucking should have. And thanks to that, collectors like myself have to pay the financial burden of trying to find a very, very good RPG. Facts! On a little side note, Dynasty Warriors 6 got released at this point. Hilariously, the PS2 version we would not get. Only America would get that. We did not get that. And to be fair, a lot of people don't like Dynasty Warriors 6, so that could be a good thing. Dynasty Warriors 6 where the franchise went down a little bit. Facts. Then obviously, this is also the year where Samurai Warriors 2 Extreme Legends came out. Once again, 2008 games. No one bought them because they was past the PS2's like popular period. So the less copies sold, the harder to find, the more this motherfucker has to pay in future. Don't I fucking know it. But in June 27th, 2008 came Soul Nomad and the World Enders. Another RPG, another 2008 Koei game, another CX rarity, another expensive game I had to buy. I would read the back. This is the Italian version. Italian's power counts. Once again, I have not played this, but it looks like a tactical RPG because they've really mastered that at this point. And I would like opinions on that game. I really would. But we're near the end of this. I think we've got like 1 or 2 games left. But if you noticed, Koei started with Dynasty Warriors Hack and Slash as their main prerogative. They tried other franchises, but by the last 3 or 4 years, they found a strong niche in RPGs. If they only found that like 3 years earlier, you don't know what we could have done with like finance, like money. I don't know why they merged with Tecmo, but I'm going to assume it was either they got bought out or it was a financial situation. I don't know. A lot of what ifs with Koei. So there's only 2 games left we got in Europe. Warriors Orochi 2. It is pretty much the same game with the same graphics, just different story and a few extra characters added from the original. Still good though. The last game released in Europe by Koei of the PS2 on the 17th of October 2008 was, of course, Persona 3 FES Edition, which is the complete edition. Have not played this yet, but I'm sure I'm going to love it. By far, apart from one of the other Shin Megami Tensei games, by far the most expensive Koei game I had to find today. It's going to be phenomenal when I play through this, hopefully. But that was the last PS2 game released by Koei, right? Now, they might release another one at the end of the lifespan where they were Koei Tecmo, but I'm doing this just as purely as Koei. So that's pretty much it. When I started doing this video, I had no idea I was going to go this long. And this might be a one-off, depending if people want more of this, because fuck me, when we get to like Capcom, which just releases the same amount of games, oh, when we get to fucking, oh my god, when we get to, good god, I'm mentally dying. There's so many companies like 505, Phoenix Games will be an interesting episode in the future, trust me. Yeah, it's a lot of, I can get a lot of games out of this. But anyway, that is what, 20 to 30 games plus released by Koei in a 8 to 9 year lifespan. They did well overall. Koei is one of the probably more underestimated game makers for the PS2. They really are. And obviously people know them now as Koei Tecmo and they love them. But at the time, a lot of these RPGs, because they were released so late in the lifespan, just got ignored. The Atira Aris series, La Paseo Tactics, Malachi Kingdom, Grim Gamor, the Persona franchise. That's like 5 different RPGs too late. But some of them have stayed, some of them are gone, so I would love to hear people's opinions on Koei, if they like them or not, but for me, I love them. Anyway, that ends this very long episode of PS2 Mini Games. Please comment and subscribe. If I pass this on to Dave, Dave's going to fucking hate me, so I'm going to edit this myself. If I send Dave an hour-long video and go, edit this motherfucker, he'd be like, no, you do it. No, Dave would do it. But I'm doing this one. Thank you for watching, guys. For those who actually watched the 4-hour, impressive, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, the camera's shaking as a tan. Thank you for watching this incredibly long diatribe of a man explaining things very poorly. Have a good day, guys.